Why are you shaking? Ryan Blackwood's voice was soft enough that no one else at the table heard it. That made it worse. His fingers touched my wrist beneath the edge of the silver serving tray, and the wine glass slipped from my hand. Crystal exploded across the marble floor. Conversation died. For one terrible second, every face in the Blackwood dining room turned toward me. I dropped to my knees. I'm sorry. My voice barely worked. Working in other people's houses had taught me to notice what powerful people forgot servants could see, which doors stayed locked, which names changed a room, which hands checked which pockets when they were nervous. Across the table, Ryan smiled. Not warmly, knowingly. I reached for the broken glass, desperate to keep my hands busy, but my sleeve slid toward my elbow. The bruises showed, for dark fingerprints around my wrist. I froze. So did the room. Or maybe only I did. Because when I looked up, Adrian Blackwood was staring at my arm. He sat at the head of the table beneath the low amber chandelier, one hand resting beside an untouched glass of bourbon. Black suit, white shirt, no tie, a thin scar cut through his right eyebrow. He didn't move. Adrian never needed to. Men twice his size lowered their voices when he entered a room. Chicago newspapers called him a businessman. People who knew better called him nothing at all. His steel gray eyes moved from my wrist to Ryan, then back to me. My stomach tightened. Ryan leaned into his chair. Emily's always been clumsy. As Margaret crossed behind him with a bottle from the private reserve, Ryan's fingers briefly checked the small brass key in his trouser pocket. I noticed only because I noticed everything when I was afraid. A few men laughed politely. Adrian didn't. Clean it up, he said. That was all. I stared at him. He had seen. I knew he had seen. Yet he returned to the conversation as if nothing had happened. I gathered the glass with trembling fingers and escaped through the service door. I barely reached the corridor before Ryan followed me. His footsteps were unhurried. That frightened me more than running would have. You should learn to control your face, he said. I kept walking. Emily. I stopped. Ryan came close enough for me to smell expensive cologne. You didn't tell him about that night, did you? No, the answer came too quickly. His smile returned. 8 days earlier, I had seen him leaving Adrian's private study after midnight. He had been carrying a black leather ledger. I had asked if he needed anything. That was my mistake. Ryan dragged me into the service corridor and demanded to know what I had seen. When I refused to answer, his hand closed around my wrist. Hard. The bruises had turned purple by morning. Now he glanced toward them. Good, he murmured. Because Margaret likes her pension. My blood went cold. Then he added, and your sister likes college. I understood later how easily he could have learned that. Before Adrian froze executive access, Ryan could see staff emergency contact files, including Claire's school information. He walked away. I stayed there, unable to breathe, until another voice came from the darkness behind me. Emily. Adrian. He stood at the far end of the corridor. I had no idea how long he had been there. His face revealed nothing, but his eyes followed Ryan's retreating shadow. Then they settled on me. You should get some sleep. I nodded and fled. At 1:14 that morning, I carried linens past the second-floor window and noticed headlights beyond the iron gates. A black sedan waited across the street. Its lights switched off. I should have kept walking. Instead, I watched. Ryan slipped through the side entrance of the estate. He crossed the wet driveway alone and approached the sedan. The rear window lowered. A hand appeared from inside. On one finger was a silver ring stamped with a crest I didn't recognize. Ryan handed the stranger an envelope. My breath caught. He suddenly turned toward the mansion, toward my window. I stepped back into darkness. And downstairs, somewhere beneath me, a door quietly opened. The next morning, my name disappeared from Ryan Blackwood's schedule. I noticed because Margaret noticed. She stood in the servant's office with her glasses low on her nose, staring at the revised assignments. You're no longer covering the West Wing. I looked up. Why? The West Wing was the oldest part of the estate. Margaret had warned me on my first week about sealed servant passages and an antique dumbwaiter hidden somewhere behind its paneled walls. She gave me a strange look. Mr. Blackwood's instruction. Adrian. My stomach tightened. He hadn't questioned me after what happened in the corridor. He hadn't mentioned Ryan. He had simply moved me away from him. That should have made me feel safer. Instead, it made me wonder how much Adrian had heard. By noon, the mansion felt different. Quieter. Sharper. Men I had seen laughing over whiskey the night before now spoke in low voices behind closed doors. Daniel Mercer arrived before breakfast and never removed his coat. Something had happened. I learned what by accident. Margaret handed me a stack of invoices. Take these to accounting. I was halfway down the hall when one page slipped free. I bent to pick it up, then stopped. Lakefront Freight Solutions. The name meant nothing for half a second. Then I remembered black leather. Ryan leaving Adrian's study 8 nights earlier. The ledger under his arm. A white document sticking from between the pages. Lakefront Freight Solutions. My pulse jumped. I shoved the invoice back into the stack. Problem. Adrian's voice came from behind me. I turned too quickly. He stood 10 feet away. No bodyguards. No expression. Just those steel gray eyes. No, a lie. He looked at the papers in my hands. Then at me. I don't like that word. What word? No, I swallowed. His mouth almost moved. Not a smile. Something colder. You use it when you mean something else. I didn't answer. He walked past me. Brief relief. Then I noticed Daniel waiting at the end of the corridor. Adrian handed him one of the invoices. The same company. Lakefront Freight Solutions. My skin went cold. That evening, I was polishing glasses in the pantry when Adrian stepped inside and closed the door. I set the cloth down. What do you need? The truth. My throat tightened. He leaned against nothing. Men like Adrian didn't need furniture to occupy a room. Why are you afraid of my brother? I'm not. His eyes stayed on mine. You look at dangerous men differently than frightened ones. I said nothing. Which one is Ryan? I hated that question. Because I didn't know. Dangerous men were easy. Frightened men were worse. They always needed someone weaker to prove they still had power. I don't know. For the first time, Adrian nodded. Like that answer mattered. That makes 2 of us. He left. I stood there long after the door closed. Later, while clearing Ryan's sitting room, I found an envelope crushed beneath the desk. Empty. Cream-colored. Expensive paper. A silver wax seal was broken across the back. The crest made my breath catch. A crown over a serpent. The same symbol I had seen on the ring inside the black sedan. I tore off the corner with the seal and slipped it into my apron. For the first time, I had something real. Something that proved I hadn't imagined the car. Or the meeting. Or the fear. I hid the fragment beneath my mattress before dinner. When I returned to my room that night, the door was open. I stopped in the hallway. Nothing looked disturbed. The lamp was still on. My shoes were untouched. My mother's photograph remained beside the bed. I checked beneath the mattress. The wax seal was gone. In its place sat a folded piece of paper. 3 words were written across it. I warned you once. If you leave this house now, Ryan will know you're afraid. Adrian's voice stopped me 3 steps from the front door. It was 5:47 in the morning. My suitcase stood beside me. I turned slowly. He was alone at the foot of the staircase, dressed in black, his expression unreadable. I'm not running from Ryan. Another lie. Adrian glanced at my suitcase. You're becoming bad at that. Footsteps sounded above us. Ryan. He descended with one hand in his pocket, looking almost amused. Going somewhere, Emily? My fingers tightened around the handle. Adrian saw it. Not the suitcase. My hand. The way my entire body changed when Ryan spoke. Ryan, Adrian said. His brother stopped. Leave. Ryan's smile faded. Seriously? Adrian didn't repeat himself. He didn't need to. Ryan walked away, but the look he gave me promised this wasn't finished. Adrian opened the library door. Inside. I have nothing to say. Then I'll listen to nothing. That almost made me laugh. Almost. I entered. He closed the door but stayed near it, leaving half the room between us. No intimidation. No touching. Just patience. It was somehow worse. What happened 8 nights ago? My heart stumbled. Nothing. Emily. I said nothing happened. I reached for the door. My sleeve caught on the brass handle and pulled halfway up my forearm. Adrian went completely still. The bruises were darker near my elbow. I had hidden those better. His gaze settled on them. Then on me. He stepped closer. Stopped before touching me. Who did this to you? My mouth went dry. I looked away. Emily. Look at me. I did. And that was when the library door opened. Ryan stood there. His eyes went first to Adrian, then to my exposed arm, then to me. I looked straight at him. I couldn't help it. 3 seconds. Maybe less. It was enough. Adrian slowly turned his head. Ryan smiled. She bruises easily. Silence. I grabbed her during an argument, Ryan added. She's making it into something it wasn't. Adrian's voice stayed quiet. What argument? Ryan hesitated. Tiny. Almost invisible. But Adrian saw it. So, Adrian asked. She was somewhere she shouldn't have been. Where? Another pause. I could hear my heartbeat. Ryan looked at me. Warning. That finally broke something inside me. Your study. Adrian's eyes returned to mine. I forced the words out. I saw him leaving your study after midnight. Ryan's face changed. He had a black ledger. Emily. The threat in Ryan's voice was unmistakable. Adrian moved between us. Not like a bodyguard. Like a door being permanently closed. He took out his phone. Daniel. A pause. Freeze internal financial access. Every account. Every executive credential. Ryan stepped forward. You're doing this because a maid got scared? Adrian looked at him. No, his voice was almost gentle. I'm doing it because you just became nervous. Ryan went pale. For the first time, I understood Adrian's real power. He didn't react to fear. He studied it. Ryan left without another word. I stared at Adrian. You believe me? I believe inconsistencies. That isn't the same thing. No, he met my eyes. I won't ask you to trust me, Emily. A beat. I'll give you reasons. The library door opened again. Daniel entered fast. Whatever he had found had stripped the color from his face. We have a problem. Adrian turned. One of the emergency accounts was emptied 20 minutes ago. How much? For $1 million. Adrian didn't blink. Daniel swallowed. The authorization wasn't Ryan's. Silence. It was yours. Someone didn't steal for $1 million from me, Adrian said. They wanted me to notice. Daniel stared at him. I forgot to breathe. 20 minutes earlier, Adrian's own credentials had authorized the transfer. Now he looked calmer than before. That frightened me. Lock the estate, he told Daniel. No records leave. No executive access gets restored. Ryan appeared in the doorway. You're locking down your own house? Adrian looked at him. I'm finding a leak. Ryan gave a humorless laugh. Maybe start with the people who aren't blood. His eyes found me. Adrian noticed. Blood makes an excellent alibi, he said quietly. Ryan's smile vanished. By noon, nobody could enter the estate without clearance. Adrian made one thing clear to me. I could leave whenever I wanted. Then why keep me here? Because whoever searched your room believes you know something. My stomach tightened. And do I? His gaze sharpened. That depends on what you haven't told me. There it was. I finally gave him the rest. 8 nights ago. His study. Ryan carrying the black leather ledger. The way he had grabbed me after I asked what he was doing. Adrian listened without interrupting. Then he crossed to a concealed cabinet behind the bookshelves. His fingerprint opened it. He searched once. Twice. His jaw tightened. What? A freight ledger is missing. The room suddenly felt colder. Daniel arrived an hour later with recovered security data. There was a 3-minute blackout that night. Adrian took the tablet. System failure? No. Manual override. Whose credentials? Daniel hesitated. Executive level. Only 2 people had that access. Adrian and Ryan. Adrian had been downtown that night at a meeting attended by 12 men. Ryan had no alibi. For the first time, the bruises on my arm felt connected to something much larger than me. Ryan hadn't hurt me because he lost his temper. He had hurt me because I had seen evidence. Adrian didn't confront him. Instead, he did something I didn't understand. He gave 3 different freight schedules to 3 different groups inside his organization. Daniel explained nothing. Neither did Adrian. 6 hours later, he called me into the library. A photograph lay on the desk. Men stood outside an abandoned warehouse near the river. What am I looking at? The schedule Ryan received led there. My pulse jumped. Who are they? Salerno Scouts. Even I knew that name. Victor Salerno controlled territory south of Blackwood operations. Arrival. So Ryan told them? Someone in his channel did. Adrian refused to assume more than he could prove. That restraint surprised me. He moved Margaret and me into the secure residential wing that night. I stared at the access card he handed me. Is this another locked room? No, can I leave? Yes. Even now, his eyes held mine. Protection that requires your permission to leave isn't protection. Something inside my chest loosened. Briefly, I realized then what had unsettled me about Adrian from the beginning. Ryan always stepped closer when he wanted control. Adrian, even when angry, left me enough space to reach the door. Do people being afraid of you ever bother you? I asked. His eyes shifted to mine. Yes. The answer surprised me. My father thought fear was proof people listened. Most of my life has been learning the difference. And have you? Not always. For the first time, the admission made him seem less like the man Chicago whispered about and more like someone still trying not to become his father. Then Daniel entered. He placed another surveillance photograph beside the first. Adrian looked down. His face changed. Not shock. Something deeper. Recognition. I moved closer. The man beside Victor Salerno wasn't Ryan. He was older, gray at the temples. I had served him dinner dozens of times. Marcus Vale, one of Adrian's oldest captains. Daniel spoke quietly. He's been with your family 20 years. Adrian stared at the photograph. Then he said the sentence that made me understand how dangerous this had become. Ryan isn't betraying me alone. His eyes lifted to Daniel. He's recruiting. If Ryan thinks I'm afraid of him, I said, let him keep thinking it. Adrian looked up from the photograph of Marcus Vale. Daniel stopped typing. The room went silent. That makes you useful to me, Adrian said. I'm not asking to be useful. His steel gray eyes held mine. Then what are you asking? To know the rules before you put me on the board. Something shifted in his expression. Respect, maybe. No one uses you as bait without your consent. I nodded. Then I consent. The plan was simple because Adrian didn't trust complicated plans. Ryan believed I had told Adrian only about the bruises and the stolen ledger. So I returned to work. I avoided Ryan. Dropped my eyes when he passed. Played frightened. The difficult part was that I didn't have to pretend much. Then we gave him something to hear. In the pantry, with one of Ryan's regular runners close enough to listen, I told Margaret that Adrian had asked me whether the missing ledger mentioned Warehouse 12. It was a lie, agreed on in advance. I hated how easily my voice shook. 3 hours later, Daniel intercepted a call from that runner to Marcus Vale. Marcus ordered archived freight files removed from Warehouse 12 before midnight. Ryan had bitten exactly where Adrian expected, but the reaction also told us Marcus was deeper inside the conspiracy than we had proved. Meanwhile, Adrian let his brother believe the investigation had stalled. Behind closed doors, Daniel reconstructed 18 months of deleted financial records. At 4:32 that afternoon, he found the pattern. Lakefront Freight Solutions wasn't stealing money for Ryan. It was distributing it. Payments went through 7 shell companies, security firms, construction contractors, freight subcontractors, all controlled by men inside the Blackwood organization. Adrian studied the names. I watched something colder than anger settle over him. He wasn't buying loyalty, Daniel said. Adrian shook his head. He was buying command. That answered one question. Ryan wasn't planning to leave the Blackwoods. He planned to become their boss. Adrian dismissed everyone except me. For several seconds, he stared through the window. I was 19 when our father started bringing Ryan into meetings, he said. I stayed quiet. He was 15. That surprised me. Adrian rarely spoke about himself. Our father believed fear made sons strong. I spent years making sure Ryan never paid for his mistakes. His voice remained controlled. But now I understood the wound beneath it. You protected him from consequences. Yes. Maybe that was the first mistake. Adrian's jaw tightened. Marcus warned me about him last year. Said Ryan was making private promises to younger crews. I told Marcus to bring me proof or stop accusing my brother. His gaze returned to the photograph. Ryan remembered the protection. Marcus remembered I chose blood over his warning. His eyes snapped toward me. I expected anger. Instead, silence. Long enough to tell me I had hit something true. Then alarms sounded outside. The bait had worked too well. Daniel returned at a run. Warehouse 12. Adrian turned. What happened? Fire. Everyone got out. Records didn't. Brief relief. No one was hurt. Bigger escalation. The warehouse held archived freight documents connected to the shell companies. Ryan was destroying the trail. Marcus? Adrian asked. Gone. Adrian immediately ordered accounts frozen, routes reassigned, and every captain's communications reviewed. No shouting. No panic. Within minutes, the entire organization moved because he told it to. That was when I understood the difference between Adrian and Ryan. Ryan wanted people to see his power. Adrian expected power to work. A package arrived before sunset. No return address. My name written across the front. Adrian told Daniel to open it. Inside was a photograph. My sister, Claire, leaving her community college that morning. My knees weakened. No. Adrian caught the edge of the table, not me. Even now, he let me decide whether I wanted touching. I picked up the photograph. Claire was smiling. She had no idea someone had been watching her. Adrian's voice turned deadly quiet. She'll be moved tonight. I flipped the photograph over. for words were written in black ink. My blood went cold. Next time, she pays. Adrian read it over my shoulder. For the first time since I had known him, his control cracked. Not loudly. His hand simply closed around the photograph until the paper folded. Then Daniel's phone rang. He answered, listened, and looked directly at Adrian. Marcus Vale just crossed into Salerno territory. Adrian's eyes hardened. Ryan hadn't only threatened my sister. He had chosen his side. Where did you take my sister? Adrian didn't look up from his phone. Somewhere Ryan can't reach her. That isn't an answer. It's the only one I'm giving you. Anger burned through my fear. You don't get to decide what I'm allowed to know. His eyes lifted. For a second, neither of us moved. Then he placed the phone down. If Ryan takes you, he'll ask where Claire is. My stomach tightened. And if I don't know? You can't give him what you don't have. Cold logic. Cruel logic. But correct. Adrian stepped back. You can leave this investigation tonight. Claire stays protected either way. That mattered. He was giving me a door. I chose not to use it. No, his eyebrow lifted. If Ryan wins, I won't be the last person he frightens into silence. Adrian studied me, then nodded once. Margaret found the next clue. She overheard Daniel discussing rooms Ryan used inside the estate and interrupted him. There's another way into the old card room. Adrian turned. Margaret explained that decades ago, servants moved meals through a dumbwaiter hidden behind the West Wing walls. The same sealed servant system she had warned me about my first week. Ryan had discovered the passage as a teenager. My pulse quickened. The wall. Everyone looked at me. The night Ryan grabbed me, I heard voices behind the service corridor. I thought they were coming through the vents. Adrian understood immediately. Within an hour, Daniel located the sealed shaft. It ran directly behind Ryan's private card room. Adrian didn't send anyone crawling through it. He didn't need to. Daniel installed surveillance inside Adrian's own property and restored the panel exactly as it had been. Then we waited. For 11 hours. Nothing. At 10:17 that night, Ryan entered the card room. Marcus Vale followed. My skin prickled when their voices came through Daniel's receiver. Ryan spoke first. 2 captains are ready. Marcus answered, not enough. It will be when Adrian's accounts freeze. I looked at Adrian. His face revealed nothing. Then Ryan said the words that changed everything. Salerno promised men. The door opened on the recording. A third voice entered. Older. Smooth. Victor Salerno. You'll have them, he said, when you move against your brother. Ryan offered him Blackwood freight territory in return. Routes. Warehouses. Access Adrian had spent years controlling. It wasn't theft anymore. It was a coup. 20 minutes later, Ryan left. Marcus stayed. So did Salerno. Daniel reached toward the receiver. Adrian stopped him. Keep listening. Salerno laughed softly. When the brothers finish each other, we take what remains. Marcus asked, and Ryan? A pause. What about him? The room around me went cold. Ryan believed he was betraying Adrian to become king. Salerno was letting him destroy his own family first. I looked at Adrian. For the first time, I saw something behind the control. Not fear. Grief. His brother had chosen the throne over him. Without thinking, I touched Adrian's hand. His eyes dropped to my fingers. He didn't pull away. Neither did I. For one quiet second, the war disappeared. Then Daniel's phone rang. He answered. His expression hardened. 2 captains just switched sides. Adrian withdrew his hand and became the Mafia Boss again. Ryan. Gone. His room is empty. Adrian stood. Daniel checked another message. Then looked up. He didn't run. What did he do? Daniel turned the screen toward us. 3 Blackwood freight depots had stopped responding at exactly the same minute. Adrian stared at the map. His voice became almost a whisper. He started the coup early. Ryan wants you to say Adrian lied. I stared at the message on my phone. Daniel had already traced the number to a disposable device. That didn't make the next sentence less terrifying. Tell them the bruises were an accident, and Claire stays safe. Across the Blackwood operations room, Adrian stood before a wall of screens while his empire fractured in real time. 3 freight depots had stopped answering. 2 captains had switched sides. A Blackwood accountant had frozen access to operating funds before disappearing. Salerno vehicles were moving near the southern freight corridor. Adrian didn't raise his voice. Move Lake Street shipments through North Harbor. Daniel looked up. Ryan knows North Harbor. He knows the company. A pause. He doesn't know I own the land beneath it. Daniel almost smiled. Orders moved. Phones rang. Within minutes, freight Ryan expected to trap was moving through a legitimate holding he never knew Adrian controlled. Then Adrian attacked the weakness inside Ryan's coalition. Information. Daniel released proof that Marcus Vale had diverted crew payments into private accounts. By midnight, two groups loyal to Marcus refused his orders. Ryan's alliance was already eating itself. That was Adrian's kind of retaliation. No spectacle. Remove money. Remove trust. Remove choices. Then let frightened men destroy their own plan. My phone vibrated again. Last chance. I walked toward Adrian. He saw my face and dismissed everyone with one look. I handed him the phone. He read Ryan's message. If I tell them you misunderstood, I whispered, does this stop? Adrian looked at me. For you? Maybe. Hope hurt worse than fear. And everyone after me? His answer came quietly. No, I closed my eyes. Ryan had counted on my fear from the beginning. My job. Margaret. Claire. Every threat worked because I had something to lose. But silence had only taught him that threats worked. I took the phone back. Then typed, no. I sent it before courage could leave me. Adrian watched me. You understand what that means? Yes. Something changed between us then. He wasn't protecting a frightened maid anymore. I had chosen a side. Not his empire. The truth. At 1:40 a.m., Adrian summoned the remaining Blackwood captains to the estate. He planned to expose Ryan's payments and Salerno connection. Ryan struck first. Every captain received financial records showing millions transferred through accounts carrying Adrian's authorization. The same stolen credentials used earlier. Men who had followed Adrian for years began looking at one another. Doubt entered the room. Ryan appeared on a secure video call. My brother has been stealing from you while blaming me. Adrian remained seated. Finished. Ryan smiled. You're losing them. Maybe he was. Then I remembered something. The Black Ledger. Ryan had risked everything to steal it. He hadn't destroyed it because it contained proof of who he owned. He would need the original. Then I saw the first dinner again. Margaret carrying the private reserve bottle. Ryan's fingers automatically checking the small brass key in his pocket. I had noticed it before I knew it mattered. And afterward, every time the cellar was mentioned, he checked the same pocket. Adrian. He turned. The wine cellar. 20 minutes later, Daniel removed a wooden panel behind the private reserve racks. The ledger was there. Black leather. Exactly as I remembered. Inside were payments, names, dates. Daniel scanned 3 pages and exhaled. These shell transfers crossed legitimate companies, banks, and interstate freight contracts. This isn't only internal anymore. Attorneys can preserve it, and federal investigators can use it. Adrian's expression did not change. Prepare duplicate evidence packages. Nobody gets to bury this one. Then Adrian stopped turning pages. Tomorrow's date was circled. Beside it were 2 letters, AB, and 1 word, final. Daniel went pale. The foundation gala is tomorrow. Adrian stared at the page. Hundreds of donors, business partners, captains, political allies. Everyone who mattered would be in one room. Ryan wasn't planning another attack on Adrian's territory. He was planning to end Adrian Blackwood in public. Don't cancel the gala, Adrian said. Daniel stared at him. Ryan plans to destroy you there. I know. Adrian looked toward the ballroom security plan. And if Ryan comes, let him in. Daniel frowned. You want him inside? I want him in the one room where every person he lied to can hear the truth at the same time. That was exactly why Adrian intended to go. By sunrise, the Black Ledger had answered almost everything. Ryan had prepared the foundation gala as his final move. Business partners, political contacts, Blackwood captains, donors. Everyone whose confidence kept Adrian's legitimate empire standing would be inside one ballroom. Ryan planned to expose the forged financial records publicly, fracture Adrian's authority, then let Salerno seize the freight corridor while the Blackwoods turned against each other. Adrian didn't cancel. He prepared. Daniel verified every ledger payment against bank records. The cardroom recording proved Ryan's deal with Salerno. The recovered security logs connected Ryan's credentials to the stolen ledger. One by one, Adrian privately contacted captains Ryan believed he owned. He didn't threaten them. He showed them something worse. Ryan's plans for after the coup. Several names had already been marked for removal. Men who thought Ryan had bought their loyalty discovered he had also planned their replacement. By afternoon, his coalition was cracking. I'm not going tonight, I told Adrian. He looked at me once. All right. No argument. No order. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. Ryan had spent weeks teaching me to disappear. So at 7 that evening, I put on a black dress Margaret lent me and entered the Blackwood Foundation gala through the front doors. Not the service entrance. Adrian saw me across the ballroom. His expression didn't change. His eyes did. You chose this, he asked when I reached him. Yes. He nodded. Stay near Margaret. That was all. Yet when the crowd shifted, he moved half a step toward me and stopped, leaving the final distance mine. I closed it myself. His hand brushed mine once. Still your choice, he murmured. Still mine. For one heartbeat, the ballroom disappeared. At 8:23, Ryan walked onto the stage. Conversation faded. My brother has betrayed this family. Screens behind him filled with financial records carrying Adrian's authorization. Whispers spread. Ryan smiled. Adrian waited until he finished, then stood. Now show them the originals. Daniel changed the screens. Shell companies. Payments. Security logs. Ryan's private network. Marcus Vale. The room went silent. Then came the recording. Ryan's voice offering Blackwood territory to Victor Salerno. Faces turned toward Salerno. Ryan did too. Victor. Salerno calmly adjusted his cuff. I have no idea what he's talking about. Ryan went white. Adrian raised one finger. Daniel played the rest. Salerno's recorded voice filled the ballroom. When the brothers finish each other, we take what remains. Ryan stared at him. In that instant, he understood. He had betrayed his brother for a man who intended to discard him. His gaze found me. This happened because of you. I felt every eye turn. Ryan stepped closer. Over what? A bruise. My fear was still there. I spoke anyway. No, my voice steadied. You ruined your family because you thought no one beneath you could matter. Adrian stepped between us. Not to hide me. To face his brother. You have no position in this family. No accounts. No crews. No protection. Ryan laughed bitterly. You destroy your own brother for a maid? Adrian's voice remained cold. You destroyed yourself. Daniel already had the financial evidence prepared for authorities and attorneys who could make Ryan answer for fraud, coercion, and theft. Adrian didn't order him killed. That was the point. Ryan looked at me one last time. Then he was escorted away. I thought it was over. Daniel's phone rang. His expression changed. Salerno moved men toward the freight corridor. Adrian looked across the ballroom. Victor Salerno was already gone. The coup had failed. The war hadn't. Adrian buttoned his jacket. Around him, captains fell silent. Then tonight, he said, Salerno learns what losing costs. He walked toward the doors. And I finally understood the terrifying truth. The man who had shown mercy to his brother was still the most dangerous man in Chicago. By sunrise, Victor Salerno still had his life. He just didn't have an empire. I watched it happen from the Blackwood operations room. At 10:41 p.m., the first red markers appeared on Daniel's map. Salerno vehicles moving toward the southern freight corridor. Reroute everything, Adrian said. Daniel activated contracts Adrian had prepared years earlier. Blackwood shipments vanished from the routes Salerno expected to seize and reappeared through North Harbor, holdings Ryan had never known existed. At 11:06, Daniel put a union representative on speaker. Salerno crews are requesting dock access. Adrian looked at the map. And they don't have it. One red marker disappeared. At 11:32, two neutral families received the card room recording proving Salerno intended to let the Blackwood brothers destroy each other before taking what remained. Daniel's phone rang twice in 5 minutes. Both are withdrawing support. Two more markers vanished. Near midnight, Salerno called Adrian directly. Daniel set the phone on the table. You think contracts make you untouchable? Salerno asked. No, Adrian said. I think you built your move on men who believed you would protect them. A pause. And now they know you plan to spend them. Adrian ended the call. At 2:18 a.m., Salerno's largest shipping partner terminated its agreement. At 3:04, a lender froze a line of credit after Daniel's attorneys delivered evidence of the shell company conspiracy. At 4:11, the last neutral crew abandoned the southern corridor. No gunfire outside my window. No bodies at the gates. Just phones ringing, accounts closing, doors shutting, and red markers disappearing one by one. At 5:37, Daniel stared at the nearly empty map. He has nowhere left to move. Adrian finally sat down. Ryan had tried to take his brother's throne. Salerno had tried to take what remained. Adrian had retaliated the way he did everything. Precisely. He hadn't destroyed Salerno's life. He had destroyed the network that made Salerno powerful. Ryan faced the evidence he created himself. Fraud. Stolen funds. Coercion. The ledger he kept to control other men became the record that destroyed him. Marcus Vale lost his position, his money, and every ounce of protection the Blackwood name once gave him. The organization survived. But Adrian changed one rule. Blood no longer meant trust. Trust had to be earned. 3 days later, I placed my resignation on his desk. Adrian read it once, then signed. That hurt more than I expected. So that's it. He looked up. You want me to stop you? I didn't answer. He pushed the paper toward me. You were never supposed to need this house to feel safe. My throat tightened. Is this goodbye? Something flickered behind his eyes. That's your decision. Of course it was. That was the lesson neither of us could have learned at the beginning. I left through the front door. Claire came home safely 2 weeks later. When she stepped through my apartment door, I held her so tightly she laughed before realizing I was crying. She never knew the address where Adrian's people had kept her, only that she had been free to call me once the danger passed, and free to leave the moment security cleared it. You look different, she told me. Good different? I asked. She smiled. Like you stopped apologizing for taking up space. Margaret called every Sunday. I found work at a nonprofit and returned to the certification program I had abandoned during my mother's illness. My life became ordinary. I had wanted ordinary for years. Then I discovered ordinary could feel strangely empty. Adrian never called, never sent flowers, never appeared outside my apartment. The most powerful man I had ever known did exactly what he promised. He let me leave. 3 months later, I stood outside the Blackwood estate again. Margaret opened the door. She smiled without asking why I had come. Adrian was in the library. Of course he was. He stood when I entered. Black suit. Steel gray eyes. Same scar through his eyebrow. Same quiet authority. But I wasn't wearing a maid's uniform anymore. You said goodbye was my decision, I said. It is. I stepped closer. Then I haven't decided yet. For 1 second, Adrian Blackwood almost smiled. My eyes drifted toward the brass door handle. The same one that had caught my sleeve. The same room where he had seen the bruises and asked the question that changed everything. Who did this to you? Ryan believed power meant no one beneath him could say no. Adrian had once believed protection meant deciding everything himself. Both brothers had been wrong. Real power was having the ability to close someone's cage and opening the door instead. Adrian had nearly lost his family and his empire because he trusted blood more than truth. He rebuilt both without asking me to belong to him. That was why I came back. Not because Chicago feared him. Not because he could destroy anyone who touched me. I came back because when he finally had every reason to hold on, he let me choose. He ruled the city, but I ruled the silence he had finally learned to listen to.